Thank you, Woody, for the kind words. And thank you, compatriots, for trusting me to take care of the chapter for the next year. I think that we'll have a lot of fun doing it. Uh, Woody was my mentor for the last 2 years, and beyond that, he's a very, very good friend of mine and my compatriot within the chapter. It will be difficult to walk in his footsteps, just as he walked in the footsteps of Don Simmons. I deeply honor and respect both of those gentlemen. You both have seen a direction for our chapter that will lead to many successes in the future. And the last 3 years that we have worked together, I've seen the chapter evolve into something that I never thought we would be. You both have set that direction for our chapter, and that will lead to many, many successes in the future. Every success, though, will be directly responsible and linked to the excellent officers and chairpersons that you have developed to grow and improve the chapter. We now have excellent management, an excellent management team, which I will introduce in a few moments. We are headed for a very exciting times in our chapter and a very rewarding achievement process. The future is truly bright, I believe, but don't blink your eyes. This year will pass quickly for me and for you, and I will soon have the honor of passing the baton on to a new team of compatriot leaders with new ideas and new goals for us to achieve. One thing is for certain, we are blessed by the God that we pray to, and he certainly wants us to keep moving forward. I would like to now turn our attention to the virtual installation of the Godfrey York chapter officers and chairpersons for the 2020 and 2021 season. With that said, I am honored to, excuse me. I'm honored to know that I'm working with officers and chairpersons that really are working very synergistically with our chapter. They don't work as individuals. Our team is kind of a composite team. And these are the things that I think that our team are above and beyond the individual within the team. One of the things that marks our management team this year is that we have a representative from almost every major profession there is out there. Their backgrounds include military, financial services, banking, sales, medical, technology, and so forth. A lot of folks don't know it, but 1/3 of our active membership is actually on this management team. I don't think many chapters can claim that 1/3 of their membership are actually officers or chairs within their chapter. That's something that indicates how strong our chapter is. Another indication to me over the year was that we had 3 individuals that were verified and became compatriots within our chapter. All 3 have been active. 2 of those 3 are actually officers in our new management team. That's how active our chapter is. Everyone on this team are seasoned and proven professionals, and that's going to be rewarding for us downstream. The key is, though, that everyone on our chapter is chapter oriented. We don't have anybody that's competing as an individual. We compete as a team. We are actively seeking out objectives that they are interested in and challenge them and that they are going to complete. And that's been our kind of modus operandi through the last 2 years. With that, I'd like to welcome Nelson McLeod III. And Nelson is an old friend of mine with the chapter now for 2 years. And he has taken responsibility for laying out a tactical plan for our events and our grave markings in the coming year. He is one of 3 vice presidents. We expanded our organization chart this year for 2 more vice presidents. And he is the team lead of those vice presidents in that he was active in this capacity last year. So he's going to continue on in this year, along with our historian, which I'll introduce later on. who will work with him on this objective. But basically, we want to develop our tactical plan for all events and grave markings within the year. Fred Morrison, he is kind of our consultant after development. Make sure that we are on the right track and moving in the right direction. He's a former senior military leader of 38 years in the Army, and he's going to carry all of that experience and leadership into his role with us within the chapter. So he's kind of our strategic planner and tactical planner for the chapter itself. Keith Maddox. Keith is a very unique man. He has been with us for less than a year, but the minute he walked away from the podium as a verified, inducted compatriot, he rolled his shirt sleeves up and we sat down together and we started to develop or co-develop what we were doing in our brick and mortar presentations in our chapter. He has now moved on and he singularly developed the Zoom product that you're viewing tonight. We have Gary Blampett, who is our secretary. Gary came into that role mid-season last year, so now he's an experienced secretary, and he's a mathematician by training and a teacher. So he's taking all of that into the secretarial role, and I think he's going to be quite a success in that area. I'm going to be working with Gary along with Woody. Woody's already initiated a project to develop some secretarial training for people that move into that role. Our treasurer is Fritz Gladfelter. Fritz is a senior member of the chapter, and his profession was in sales, and he was very good at it, and he has carried that on into our financial area. His wife is Terry Gladfelter, and Terry I'll introduce a little bit later on. Our historian is Buck Schuler. Buck is one of the 3 new verified compatriots we have this year, and he is going to be our historian. In addition, he's accepted the role to work with Nelson on doing our tactical plan for events and grave markings in the coming year and after that. Hugh Ham. Hugh is a longtime member of the chapter and has been our guiding light in our religious beliefs and in our prayers. And it'd be tough without him, and we're glad to have him with our team. Woody Carruthers. I can't say too much about Woody. He is probably my best friend in all the chapters, and him and I, we started out with my application, and I remember sitting on his bedroom with Ed Richburg, who was the state registrar at the time, and listening to a training session that Ed was giving to both Woody and I. And it's been 3 years now, and Woody is now moving back to be our registrar here. And I'm looking forward to, at the end of my position in this year, to possibly working with Woody in some kind of aspect of registrar work. Our genealogist is Robert Eskew. Robert is one of those guys that whenever there's work to be done, whenever there's anything to do that's going to contribute to the chapter, he's there, both before, during, and after meetings, before, during, and after events. So he's the kind of guy that's what I really call a shirt sleeve officer. Don Jones. Don Jones, I met Don about 3 years ago. He was the secretary of the chapter at the time. And him and I used to sit around and we'd talk about being part of the color guard. And out of that concept of the color guard grew what we thought we would have something in the chapter called a militia. And originally when we started it, we thought we would probably be the only 2 for a few years. But within the first year, we had grown to 4. And we're anticipating growing to maybe 5 or 6 very shortly. Gary Earhart. Gary is one of the old-time members of the chapter. And I'll introduce his brother next, but he is one of the co-commanders of our color guard. And what I'm anticipating or hoping for is that we can form a marriage between the militia and the color guard so that we can have a more disciplined presentation of the colors at our meetings once we get back to brick and mortar meetings. So Gary is an integral part of our chapter. And his brother Wayne is the co-commander of the color guard. They take care of all of our colors, both before meetings and at events. And they've been with the chapter for quite a long period of time. And the last person we have on the list is Terry Gladfelter. And Terry is the wife of Fritz Gladfelter, our treasurer. Terry is a former regent of the DAR Granby chapter. And she is one of those persons when you give her an objective, she goes off and she completes it, whatever it is. And I found out how hard that lady works at our first grave marking that we did last year. And there couldn't be a better ladies auxiliary chair than Terry Gladfelter. We are so happy to have her with our chapter. And that ends our officer lineup for this year. And I'm so looking forward to working with every one of them. And what I want to show you is the last person we have on the list is Dr. Buddy Witherspoon. He is the chairperson of our ROTC Awards, and he is also the vice president of the Midlands region of the State Society. So Buddy is kind of wearing two hats in our organization right now. And we're very much looking forward to him working with our chapter in the mid-region. And this leads me to the section of the presentation where we'll talk about what we're going to do as far as meeting schedules and publication schedules of our different various products. The chapter meetings are going to remain the same as they were in the past. And we're publishing this because we anticipate somewhere down the road this year that we'll move into a brick and mortar scenario. But we'll meet on the second Monday of the month, as we have always done in the past, at 7 p.m., whether it's virtually by Zoom or in a brick and mortar building. The second is the monthly newsletter that we put out right now on the first of the day of the month. We'll continue to do that. In addition to our schedule this year is our chapter executive committee meeting, which Woody initiated earlier this month, and we will continue that. We will do it only one time a month rather than twice a month, and it'll be on the first Monday of the month at 7 p.m. The next slide we're going to show is our active projects that are ongoing right now. You probably think that our management team is kind of starting tonight. That would be a wrong conclusion because our management team started weeks ago. And one of the programs that we're actively involved in right now is Nelson's McLeod III's project that he leads along with Buck Schuler, our historian. And what they are doing right now is looking at analyzing the grave markings in the Lexington County area so that we can lay out a tactical plan of which ones we're going to do first and also events. What are we going to do this year? And we're looking forward to their presentation of their tactical plan. The other one is that one that I'm undertaking, and I'm going to try and work with Fred Morrison on this. And what we're going to be doing is looking for a new meeting site because our old meeting site will not accommodate the CDC guidelines for group meetings. There's just not enough room at that particular restaurant. So we have to search for a site where we can wear masks and be spaced apart per CDC. The third one is video meetings, and that's for programs and events recording. Keith and I are going to be working on that, and we have preliminarily discussed going down to the Battle of Eutaw Springs event coming up on September the 5th. And if we are able to go, what we plan to do is take our camera and video record that event. And it's twofold. One would be to see if we can do it. And the second would be is if we do it successfully, then we can provide Eutaw Springs chapter with a video recording of the event in case they did not do it. And we're not sure what the folks down there have planned as far as video recording at this time. But for us, it's strictly a beta test of our equipment. So we have three active projects in the air right now. We also have projects in the queue. We have 5 of those that we would like to get very quickly if we can. Our website is airborne now, and what we would like to attach to it is an piece of application software for record retention. We have no methodology right now to save the historical documents of our chapter, and we'd like to get that into a digital format as quickly as we can. So we're going to try and look at different tag-on products onto our website for that. In addition, we already have a database activated, but it only has preliminary basic information about our membership. There's a lot of field data within our database that would expand that database dramatically and more effectively for the chapter, in that we would collect information like professional background, professional interest, things that you would like to do in the chapter, awards, things of that nature. And I indicated, like before, one of our projects is to videotape the grave marking. So that's in the queue right now. The fourth one is very important to me personally, and that has to do with our militia training. When we go to events and grave markings, Fred and Don and Fred Jr. and I have already talked many times about it. We want to look like we're really militia, like we really know what we're doing, and we know the manual of arms, and we can conduct ourselves like as if we were really true militia back that time. So we're hoping that we can find somebody that will instruct us in the manual of arms of Van Steuben. The other is that a project that Woody and I started last year together, and we spent a lot of time on this, and that's officer training materials. For us, being registrars or former registrars, we kind of have a sensitivity to that area. So we have developed a PowerPoint presentation that we think is very adaptable for training our new registrars coming into office. In the SAR and in our SAR chapters, from my perspective, the role of the registrar is probably the most important officer position in the chapter. So we're trying to, we want to finish that product up and get that airborne for our chapter. In addition, President Woody also initiated on his own training materials for the secretary office, which we hope to put into our training here for the chapter. Third category that I wanted to talk to you tonight about was we did a survey last newsletter of our compatriots. And the subject of that was we were trying to get an understanding of whether the compatriots, what direction do they want us to move in, and in relation to the virus situation we're in. And it was kind of interesting, the 2 results that came out of that survey to me were that 70% of our membership, they want to move towards a brick and mortar meeting as quickly as we can get there. Now, as you move in that direction, you can only do that by decision of the individual. The chapter certainly isn't going to ask anybody to do something they do not want to do. So it's interesting that we have that high of a percentage of people that want to move in that direction. So, but that is a guiding light for us right now, and that's the reason I want to start searching for a meeting site for us, so that when the time comes and it's right, and we think that we're ready to go as an executive management team, then we'll start to move in that direction slowly. The counterpart of that is that 77% of the people seem to be very comfortable with or adaptable to Zoom meetings. And Keith and Woody have talked about that a lot, and we're going to continue to use Zoom in future brick and mortar meetings as we move more and more toward that objective. And one of the advantages of Zoom, and in particular the camera scenario that you're part of tonight, is that we'll be able to move that to our brick and mortar scenario. The benefit of that is that people that are compatriots that are sick, community people that come to our chapters, they could actually go meet us through Zoom and be part of the chapter meeting through Zoom with the camera. So that's part of the reason we're doing the camera operation tonight, is to beta test that for future meetings. So that's kind of how it wraps all that into one ball for you. At this time, I'd like to ask Robert Eskew to lead us in the recessional note of the meeting. And I thank you very much for your time and patience. Robert, are you there?
Yeah. Until we meet again, let us remember our obligations to our forefathers who gave us our Constitution, the Bill of Rights, an independent Supreme Court, and a nation of free men.
Thank you, Robert. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for your time and you spent with us tonight. I know in this kind of day and age, you don't have a lot of time to come to meetings and things, but we really do appreciate it. And we had a very good turnout tonight. I think we had 20 people attend. Well, with that, we'll close the meeting for this evening. And I want to thank you all for coming. And we'll hopefully, please come and join us at our next meeting, which will be in October. Thank you. Have a good night.